Greetings, my beloved ones. This is El Tico, and we are going to present a little old school information. So, picture is worth 1,000 words, or it takes 1,000 words to describe a picture. Images have an indelible impact on the mind. When you are constantly bombarded by negative images, after a while, you believe them to be the sole truth. There is an obvious reason for this constant barrage of negative images, especially when most of them show naked folks, poorly dressed, dirty, unkempt appearances. Being undressed, I don't know about you, but when you don't have any clothes on, or very little, similar to our blessed animals, which at times are much more smarter than we are, but in any event, they do not put on garments. So when you're undressed, you basically are animal-like. So you're not as regarded as human. I mean, just always look at things logically, Anyway, so that specific image is very powerful. Now stop and think about images you see. Very important. Pay attention. Images. Pay close attention and use your logical mind and look at the detail. Will tell you a lot more than you imagine. Remember, it takes 1,000 words to describe a picture. So, I ask myself why the emphasis on nakedness. And showing of times some of our ladies with their breasts exposed, whereas no one else is seen like that. Right? So images have a way of infiltrating into our mind. Right? And often these undressed or naked or skin exposed folks are next to someone who's dressed. So that in itself makes a statement. Sometimes when images of some of my ancestors are displayed such a negative way constantly, it seems as though our origin, right, when we started standing up, begins at that point. and should never be forgotten. So it is a constant reminder of your beginnings. In reality, I was kind of questioning that because, I always have to ask logical questions, because I'm that kind of a person. Fortunately, I wish I wasn't, because, when you ask logical questions, sometimes it's a little difficult, but one of the questions I have, what is the purpose of these kinds of images being constantly shown, or whose purpose does it serve? That's, maybe that's a better way of putting it. But I'll tell you something more interesting that I think is even more important is like the narrative. The narrative. Keep that word in mind. I find that that's the most important. A picture of the past is displayed, right? And right away, a narrative is presented. Like this is this and that and the other. So what happens is that it automatically takes your mind. I don't know how many of you were around during the radio days, but certain words were said or the narration went, and you automatically in your mind you conjure up the picture they were talking about. So the narrative creates a mindset and it directs you to where the narrator wants to take you. You understand that? So when there's a picture, right, and it says, well, such and such and such and this is that, right away you begin in that journey, right? So that is where the narrator wants to take you. But normally, I'm kind of a logical guy. I trust my God-given eyes and logically analyze the picture. Really I do. Why? Because how do I know that the narrator was there at that exact moment? How do I know that? I'm reading it, he's saying that, but, now my curiosity, like I said, I'm a kind of curious person. How do I know he was there and that actually is what was seen? That's what it was. I got to ask myself that. Or is he or she, right, also interpreting the picture just like I could do? Who's to say they were actually present there? I don't know. This person is just saying this is this and this is that. So they're giving you a narration. So they're telling you what to think. You know what I mean? So, I'll tell you something interesting. The other day, I was taken back by the fact that Captain Kirk, it's Captain Kirk, right? Star Trek. And I thought it was interesting that our Star Trek captain finally went to the edges of outer space. And I thought to myself, wow, he went where no man has gone before. You know what I mean? And then I remember it was the narrator who had me traveling in outer space with Captain Kirk. It wasn't Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk never told me come with me. You know, think about that for a second. You know, he just did his thing. You know, he was Captain Kirk, Spock, you know, and everyone else. And I was there. You know, I traveled wherever they went. But who told me to do that was the narrator. You know, so therefore I was right there, you know, just like Mr. Ed. I don't know how many of you may remember Mr. Ed, the talking horse. And the narrator in the song told me that this was a horse that talked. So I believed the narrator's story. My mind went with the narrator. So it's very important to remember that. And so it was very puzzling that Captain Kirk finally went to the edges of outer space. It reminds me when watching a basketball game on TV and there is a play-by-play announcer telling me what I am watching. And so I am to believe what he's saying is what I am watching. But you know, of course, he or she's narrating the events into my mind. You know, and this player, you know, he's going into the heavens and dunking the ball. So, you know, my mind goes there when in reality I'm looking at the player just going up like a human being, but very incredible and stuffing the ball. But, you know, the narrator's telling me he went to the universe and came back and stuffed up. So, you know, the narrator's conducting what I'm seeing. Right? So, what that helps me to do is that when I look at historical pictures, you know what I learned? I look for myself. Disregard the narrative. Because, you know, sometimes they will show a picture and say, this individual is standing here with their slave hostess or the helper. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, wait a minute. Here is a lady that could be looking like one of my cousins, you know, because, you know, in my family, there's a varied complexion of tones of skin. To go from light to dark, you know. So now that could be a possibility of a family relationship because, you know, how would a slave be dressed just like, you know, someone who is the boss or whatever? Let's say they go into a ball and you telling me you're going to bring your maid, you know, and she's going to be dressed exactly like you with the pearls and the fancy clothes. No, I don't think so. So, you know, I find that very interesting. So that's why I'm interpreting my things myself, you know, and your humanity does not change, generally same throughout time. We may do things differently because of technology. You know, like instead of driving a carriage with a horse, you know, you're driving a machine that has 120 horsepower. You know, I mean, same thing, but technology made you ride one way or ride another way. But humanity is basically the same Children will always play with children, with other children. Friends will be friends. Parents will be parents. We do not change our habits because of different times. So, don't be mesmerized when you're looking at a picture and they saying this, that, and they are narrating to you what you're looking at, when it doesn't look like what they're saying is what you're seeing. You know what I mean? So, look carefully. It's like I always say, when you want to watch a game, turn the sound down and then you interpret what you see. So when you're looking at a picture, tone down what you're reading and begin to see what you actually are seeing. You know what I mean? So all I want to say is that be logical about what you're looking at and interpret what your God-given eyes have given you the power to do. Peace and blessings to all of you.